The general purpose of this videotape is to give you a quick, mid-December, bird's-eye view of the many programs and activities of the Esko schools. It is hoped that what you see in the next few minutes will be used along with the many pages of program descriptions that were mailed to you in mid-December to help you to get an overall view of the Esko schools. All of what you see is intended to be a representative sample of our many different programs and activities. Well, it's about time for the buses to arrive. About 850 students ride in our fleet of 12 buses that arrive each day in time for classes to begin at 8:24. About 175 students walk, drive, or are brought to school. All buses have unheated garage space at the 35-acre site. There is also a 2-stall heated building for general maintenance work. Many of the buses make double runs before and after school. Consolidation of pickup points for students has received considerable attention in the past year. We make 4 trips to Carleton each day with students in the vocational program and 2 trips per day to Duluth with students in special ed classes. Before we visit some of the Esko classes, let's take a quick look at some of the other support services. In the business management area, we looked in on Superintendent Kirkpatrick. We found him in conference with Mrs. Bentley, our business manager. Besides attending to the day-to-day operation of the school and all fiscal affairs of the district, much time and effort this past fall has been put into seeking options to best meet the new financial limits of the district. Across the hall in the lunchroom, the cooks were busy preparing vegetables and baking for the noon rush. Some baking is done almost every day. An average of close to 600 students in grades K to 12 eat hot lunch each day in the Winterquist gym. This year, we have a contract with the Duluth schools for the purchase of food and overall management of the food service program. Near the lunchroom, we saw head custodian Bill Murato checking and adjusting the weather stripping on one of the many outside doors. In addition to about 40 hours of room cleaning every night, the custodial crew is responsible for the maintenance of all buildings and grounds and the heating of all buildings. Cutting down on heat loss has been a major effort during the past year. Deb Lane, our community education director, spends a lot of her time on the phone, arranging for the ever-expanding role of community education in Esko. Scheduling of all community uses of the school facilities outside the regular school day is done through this office. Planning for the Winter Fun Week in February is well underway at this time. The kindergarten children have now made the long trip from the bus loading area at the front of the school to Mrs. Lindstrom's kindergarten room on the ground floor at the far end of the building, where the day has just begun with a unit of study on the farm. From here, we will move on to visit one elementary classroom at each grade level. Near the end of the year in kindergarten, students are very carefully placed in groups for first grade. This is Mrs. Tollerud's first grade. Here, the emphasis is on reading, music, basic art, and listening skills. Gotta have boots in the hallway. We're now in Barb Kennedy's second grade. In addition to reading, emphasis here is placed on math skills. Reading is done in 2 blocks of time each day, usually with 3 reading groups in one room. You guessed correctly if you assumed that this group was returning from a trip to the washroom. This is Bobby Moran's third grade. Besides reading, the emphasis here is on adding and subtracting in math and an introduction to multiplying and dividing. Other time is spent on science, health, handwriting, and language arts. In Jack Johnson's fourth grade, reading is again the strongest part of the curriculum. Most fourth graders are spread out in 5 different reading levels. Sustained silent reading is also experienced in fourth grade. The children are also ability grouped for math, spelling, and the language program. Fourth graders have a half year of science and a half year of health. In social studies, the main countries to study are Australia, India, Ghana, and England. We are now in Ted Wallace's 5th grade room. Here again, reading, math, and language arts are taught at the ability level of the student. All other subjects are taught in the homeroom with time for discussion and experimentation. The homerooms carry out many activities that range from a study of state governors to a language newspaper to a nutritional breakfast. The development of skills needed to work independently as well as working with others is also a goal for this grade. It was a little later in the morning when we stopped in at Bob Swanstrom's 6th grade, where we found them getting ready to begin working with bone puzzles. A variety of programs and activities is carried out to meet the needs and interests of 6th graders. The students are ability grouped for math, reading, language, and spelling. Development of wholesome attitudes about themselves and toward others, along with judging right and wrong action, and to learn to manage their own behavior are goals of the 6th grade experience. We are now in the speech language room with Vicki Thomas. The goals here are to identify, diagnose, plan, and provide a program for students with a communicative disorder. The amount of help will vary with the individual needs of each student. This is Carol Kubitsky's Learning Disabilities Room. The goals of this program are to improve the reading, math, and language skills of students with a learning disability. Children are placed in regular classrooms whenever possible and in alternative programs only when needed. The goal of the K-12 reading program is to enable students to become independent readers who will come to enjoy reading throughout their lifetime. Small groups like this one with Mrs. Holmberg are common throughout the elementary school. The Elementary Library Media Center provides a balanced collection of both print and non-print materials to support the school curriculum. Betty Lidberg provides guidance to children in the selection of materials. She teaches library skills at each grade level to all elementary children. Students are encouraged to select materials which will increase and diversify their interests. Elementary physical education classes are held in the auditorium for the younger grades and in the new gym, the Winterquist gym, and outside for activities for older students. A planned sequence of skills and activities is carried out and repeated to improve the level of performance as students get older. Physical education is required for all students up through grade 10. The elementary emphasis is on motor skills, rhythms, ball skills, tumbling, and specialized sports skills for the upper elementary grades. In grades 7 to 10, the emphasis is on physical fitness and skills to use in later life. Elementary students have music classes for 20 to 25 minutes each day. In grades 4 to 6, one music period a week is available for choir and band. A 20-minute instrumental lesson in small groups is available each week to interested 5th and 6th graders. The nurse's office on the second floor of the Winterquist School serves both the elementary and secondary students. Physical and emotional health, along with emergency and first aid care, are concerns of the nurse's office. Lynn Hardesty is the half-time elementary social worker. She is responsible for effective programming for handicapped students and to serve as a liaison between home, school, and other resources. We begin our brief tour of the high school with a visit to Mr. Town's office where the Child Study Team was meeting. The Child Study Team is made up of the principal, LD teachers, counselor, social workers, and the school psychologist. A structured, team-centered process is used to identify, assess, and diagnose handicapped children and to determine the proper remediation or intervention that may be needed. This is Mrs. Lowfald's senior high English class. Junior and senior high students are required to take an English class every year. The goal of the department is to help students to observe, read and appreciate literature, and to communicate effectively as they speak, write, and listen. This social studies class is meeting with Mr. Erdahl. Students in grades 7 to 12 are required to take 5 years of social studies. Our emphasis is on the history and geography of the world, the organization of American government, and the rights and responsibilities of citizens, and the social and psychological problems of man. Mr. Zimney is teaching this 7th grade math class. The main goal of the math department is for all students to have the opportunity to become competent in the basic mathematical operations and to have enough background in math to go on to other math courses. This is a biology class with Mr. Bowman. Science is required in the junior high and for 1 year in senior high. 10 different semester classes in science are available to senior high students. The greenhouse next to the biology room provides for many additional experiences in science. In the business department, the beginning courses provide an opportunity to learn basic skills and procedures. The advanced classes are more vocational in nature and do more to prepare the student for the job market or more advanced training. In home ec, we find students in grades 7th and 8th learning how to use the sewing machine. Elective home ec classes are available for grades 9 through 12. All home ec classes are co-ed as part of Title IX requirements. All 7th and 8th graders have a co-ed shop class for 9 weeks. Elective shop classes are available to students in grades 9 through 12. This was cleanup time for some 8th graders. The vocational auto mechanics class meets next door to the high school shop classes. This is a vocational cooperative class, 2 hours a day, including students from Carleton and Renshaw. All systems of the automobile are studied. Students work together on cars to gain practical experience. In art, students are introduced to the department through 9-week required courses in grades 7 and 8. In senior high, students may choose classes in drawing, painting, pottery, or activities in art. This is the pottery corner of the art room. And here's some cypress logs that have been cut, ready to be made into clocks. And of course you recognize these as drawings from one of the drawing classes. The high school library media center is a busy place any time of the day. Projectors, use of the Apple microcomputer, viewing of film strips, videotaping, checking out books, and selecting materials from the library shelves are all typical activities that occur at the same time. About 300 students per day use the library, and about 250 items are checked out each day. The major goal of the high school library is to provide students with reading materials to meet their many informational needs. The periodical room is well stocked, and this is a high school English class making use of one side of the library as part of their class activity. We're now in the microcomputer center at Esko. Esko has 7 Apple computers. 5 of them are available in the math department. Students in the computer programming class use this equipment, as well as students from math classes and the study halls. We're now up in the home ec department where the diversified occupations class is meeting. They meet here for 1 hour a day. Ms. Nicotera is their instructor, and then they have 2 hours per day of on-the-job training that she supervises. You recognize Mr. Kramer directing the choir. All 7th and 8th graders take 9 weeks of general music. Junior high students may also participate in band and choir for 1 hour each day. The senior high band and choir each meet for an hour every day. The jazz rock groups meet in the morning before the start of the regular school day. Vocal and instrumental lessons are scheduled whenever the instructors and students are available throughout the day. Many, many hours of practice go into those concerts and performances that we're so familiar with here at Esko. We're now in the counselor's office. A guest from the University of Wisconsin Superior is here today talking with 3 of our seniors to tell them about the school in Superior. The counselor's office houses all of the information available on post-high school areas of training, places that people can go, armed services, colleges, vocational schools. All of this sort of thing is available here to students, not just seniors, but the entire junior, senior high, of course, of more interest to seniors. Permanent records are kept at the counselor's office as well. We're looking at students in an independent study program. Students can take classes from colleges and universities in the upper Midwest or really any place in the United States, and about 10 of our kids are involved in this program right now. The elementary school has an LD room. We have 2 LD teachers and an aide in the high school. Again, the emphasis here would be to keep students in regular classrooms and to be out for the learning disabilities room only when absolutely necessary or needed. The information closet with Pete Thompson is across the hall. Pete is our social worker and deals with student problems and needs. He has an alcohol dependency program, or I should say drug dependency program, or information on this area of life that is available to students. In Health Careers, this was a busy day of kids having their blood pressures taken and blood tests and just any of a number of things. The Health Careers class is a part of the vocational co-op with students from Carleton, Cloquet, and Renshaw. Next door in one of the Esko Health classes, these 9th graders were getting ready to use their fingers to do some speaking for the deaf. And if you watch closely, they'll finally get warmed up here and get into it. This was their assignment for the day as part of health, to get to understand this part of life. We came to Spanish on the last day of school before vacation. Sherry Peterson had arranged for a piñata, and these senior high kids seem to really appreciate that. They didn't waste any time in picking up all of the goodies that fell out. Spanish at Esko is intended to get kids interested in a foreign language and to get them started on conversation, at least to be able to understand and do some conversing in Spanish. We're looking at athletic director Bert. He doesn't just look at these trophies. He has much to do as far as schedules and arranging with other schools for games. When we think of games out at the Esko Field, we sometimes forget the amount of effort that it takes to get a program put together. And this is also true for girls volleyball and all other sports. We used these 2 sports pictures to represent all extracurricular activities including speech, theater, yearbook, and AFS. We have come to the end of our quick tour around and about the Esko schools. We are not expecting you to be experts in curriculum, but rather to have a better understanding of the broad aspects of the Esko program and activities. I hope that you will have found this videotape to be helpful along with the blue Program Profiles booklet as you sit at your tables to discuss the educational program priorities for the Esko schools.